This episode of The Republic is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Republic, episode 162 for November 14th, 2013. We got a little bit of a different show today since some NDA stuff just dropped right before the show on the Galactic starfighter. So we're going to talk a lot about that and maybe some other news. We'll see. All that and more. But first, Mr. Larry Everett, how are you, sir?
I'm okay. Somehow, even though I didn't go to BlizzCon, I got the con crud. I don't know how that happens. So I've got a candy in my mouth because Laura says, "Hey, that helps the cough." You know, obviously. So,
The
yeah.
con crud.
Yeah.
I've somehow escaped it this year. Everybody else is. All the GBN crew are just completely sick, though. And Laura Williams, how are you?
Hey, guys. I'm telling you, Larry, it totally does. It soothes your throat.
Soothes the throat. All right, so right before the show, or somewhere this afternoon, NDA pretty much dropped for the Galactic starfighter. You guys have both played it. I think Larry's played a bit more than Laura. She ran out of Dramamine for the motion sickness. But you both have played it. And I've got a bunch of questions here from the chat room that we took right before the show. But what do you, before we jump into the questions, what are your, Lara, what are your first thoughts now that you can finally talk about the edition?
My initial thoughts are that it's good to see an extra part of this game that doesn't require any kind of require the readjustment to anything else in the game. So it's like totally new, and that's really cool to see. And I think it plays pretty well. I don't necessarily think that it will be. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll be everything that people want it to be, but it is definitely a good addition to the game. It is.
What about
fun.
you, Laura? What did you think of your first impressions of just getting in there?
One, I liked that you can play it from level 1, so anybody starting out can jump right on into it. I also really like that it is PvP, especially since we had a lot of people that were upset because they removed the 8-on-8 ranked war zones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is going to make them happy that they've got starfighting in space.
But what do you guys think? Does this style of PvP, is it what PvPers want? Because it's very different than a tune on the ground.
I don't know that it's necessarily what PvPers want, but I do think that it's going to get a lot more people involved in PvP. We have some people in our guild that are not really heavy into ground PvP, but they love space PvP. So I think it's going to bring a lot more people into that venue and give you a lot more people to play with.
So Lara, are there any like prerequisites or any level requirements or anything? I know you start at level 1, but is everyone able to just jump right into this?
Yeah, absolutely. You can jump right into it. In fact, some people, if I remember correctly, right on beta testing, they just created the character and did that first cutscene and then jumped right into Galactic starfighter. So yeah, you can do it immediately. There's a button right up, just like you would queue up for Warzone, that right immediately that you can jump right into. You first got to load out your ship and do all that kind of theory crafting kind of stuff, and then you can jump right into PvP from there. Yeah, simple.
Yeah, let's jump into some of the questions. I got a question here from Fastcart. First, I want to know if you can use a joystick.
No.
Yeah,
they said they don't want people to have to go out and buy new equipment to be able to play. So as of right now, they are not supported, and they don't really have any plans to add that in the future. However, that could change.
Does it feel being a dogfighting kind of game? Is it something that you'd like, or does it just feel completely at home, mouse and keyboard? Since you're used to an MMO, Because I don't even know how I feel about that. Like having a joystick in, like, if you kind of switch between ground, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and then space. I don't know. Do you really want to go and grab a different peripheral just for that aspect of the game? Probably not.
Well, I used to, whenever I did JTL for SWT, I would have a joystick that I would use just for JTL, and that particular game, the way it moved dynamically, and that also that you were in first person, that lent itself really well to using a joystick. The way the controls work in this, I bet you could set up a joystick to where, if you hotkeyed the joystick, this, forward equal this and that, and this accelerated and whatever, you could do that sort of thing. But it won't feel exactly right because there is, it's hard to explain. There's a reticle right in front of you that is about, I would say, about a third of the screen, and you can move the mouse freely within that area and that does not move your ship. Once you hit the edge of that, then your ship moves. So there's a little bit of a lag between, if you were to use a joystick, for instance, there would be a bit of a lag between you hitting, say, going right, and then your ship actually moving. So it wouldn't be as visceral, I don't think. I think you'd actually be turned off a little bit by using a joystick.
Let me play those. You give me this video. There's a Star Wars: The Old Republic domination trailer, and I'm going to play a little bit of this because you said that this sort of feels a little bit of a feel of actually what it feels like to play.
Right, just a little bit.
So now, what do you mean by that? Because I'm seeing a lot of like out of the ship kind of like, camera views and things like that. So I don't assume people are going to see from that kind of a perspective. You're going to pretty much be behind your ship the entire time.
The perspective is a little off, but the massive amount of laser fire and the amount of things that are just going on the screen at one time, that's what it feels like. Because
so very hectic, fast-paced action combat. So the PvP aspect, it's pretty exciting. So you're not just kind of floating around in space trying to find other players. There's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, constantly, and it is, and sometimes, I mean, if you are not used to a flight sim, you could easily get turned upside down and face the wrong way and not know which direction you're going. It does. I hadn't played any kind of flight sim or anything like that for since Galaxies, to be honest. So it took a little bit for me to get used to it again, because I was turned the wrong way a lot of times and that sort of thing, and it was all action all the time, unlike like in JTL, for instance. You would have to you'd have to wait until everybody showed up, and then you're okay. Now we can go.
How large are these maps? How large are the maps where everybody's playing on? Are they pretty small to keep them condensed, and that's why there's a lot of combat?
No, they felt really big.
They're
filled with a lot of stuff. I know. I spent a lot of time crashing into asteroids.
What kind of objectives are we seeing? Like what kind of like game modes and things like that?
As of right now, it's just capture points, kind of similar to the Alderaan and the Denova war zones. Those are the two that are there. One's in the Quat drive yards. The other one is in asteroid field, whose name I forget off the top of my head. One's in an asteroid field. One is in Quat drive yards.
The Lost Shipyards.
Lost Shipyards. That's right. I totally forgot what it was. And there's 3 capture points. And basically, in order to capture it, you fly around the capture point, and if another like an enemy team member comes up to you, there's a timer on the capture. It stops the timer, and you can see everything happening. There's indicators on the whatever you want to call it, the node itself. So yeah, and it's basically capture and defend is what they have so far. Obviously, I would think they're going to have some more in the future, but that's all it is right now.
Here's a question from Doc Mortis. He says, "How do you get fleet requisitions? Are they through grinding, or can we use the fleet accommodations in some sort of transfer system?"
Fleet requisitions are earned by participating in matches, and you can get requisition comes in matches as well, but it's 5% of whatever your ship requisition is. So it's going to be a slow grind there for those.
So no sort of
Delphi said that a typical match can yield about 500 to 1,000 ship requisition.
Okay, so no sort of like transfer system of accommodations, completely separate.
No, come all new, all new.
Okay, all new. Here's another one from Fast Car. Is there some story that they introduced to playing it? Is there any kind of story behind this?
There is. It's really, really minimal. And also the new Flashpoint, we believe, is going to coincide with it, because the new Flashpoint is Quat Drive Yard. Is that what it's called? It's called Quat Drive Yards.
Yes, it's called the Quat Drive Yards, and it's going to coincide with the Quat Mesa map. So
there's a little bit of a story with it, but it's not it's not overwhelming. It's pretty much like the other war zones. There's a little bit of story, but
not super deep. Like there's no big overarching reason of why we're out in space, even dogfighting and shooting at each other. It's basically it's pretty much there's a really fun PvP
it's space,
map.
It's new. It's get out there and blow people up. Yay!
The bad guy over there, he's red. Blow him up. It's kind of what it means.
Here's one from Doc Mortis again. Is the PvE and PvP completely divorced in terms of currency?
Yes. It's completely, the rail shooter and the PvP shooter the currency is not related at all.
I mean, with that being said, do you see players just playing this and no other aspect of Tor?
Some people probably will. We have somebody in our guild that has said flat out that once he can get into space, that is the only thing that he is ever going to do. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see people doing that. In the same vein that people PvP battlegrounds all the time. That's what they do. That's what they kind of live for. I absolutely foresee that. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is here, so if none of the resources are sort of like, accommodations and currencies, if everything is separated, you could just pretty much level up, play this game all by itself, level your skills, level all kind of, like, you won't be gimped in any way. So you're not being forced into any of this stuff. And it's not going to be like people who don't really want to play this or some sort of forced into space to do PvP combat for some sort of like rep grind or anything like that. There's no sort of tie-ins whatsoever.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's anything at all that's, the only thing that's like remotely connected is that the companions that you currently have, they can fit on your ship. So obviously, if you don't have a companion on the ground game, you're not going to be able to get them in your ship. However, that being said, there are
But never fear, there are 4 new companions for each faction that are being introduced specifically for Galactic Starfighter, and also more specifically for the level 1 characters, because they aren't going to start, obviously, with all of the ground pets. So, yeah.
All right, another one here from Fast Cards. What's the leveling like? What's the highest level, and how long does it take to reach it?
There isn't strictly leveling. Basically, the best way to describe it is you buy your skills. You buy your skills and you
not on the cartel market, I hope.
No, Larry, think like Star Wars Galaxies when you were
Yeah.
leveling up that way. Like you go out there and you accrue a bunch of points, and then you can spend it in whatever tree you want to level up. And then you go out and you earn more points, and then you can spend it to buy the next tier up from that. So that's it's very similar to
Right.
how this is going to work.
Right.
So
That's
no
exact-
actual
yeah.
levels. You're not progressing from level 1 to level 2 to level 3.
But you also get levels on your character that will level you up to. You'll get experience that will level you up to 55. But the way that your ship leveling works is very similar to how it was in Star Wars Galaxies. Or at
Can
least
you-
is the easiest way that I can explain it.
Can you reallocate those points quite easily?
I didn't try to respec, so I
didn't actually try to
that.
respec. That's a good question. I don't think you can. I think once you've done it, you're
Is it to
kinda
keep playing?
set.
So at some point, are you going to be able to max out all of these trees, so to speak, and
Well-
max everything out if you just keep playing?
What you have for each loadout. See, what you do is you do loadouts for your ship, and each loadout has a specific number of points that I don't know the number of off the top of my head, but they have a specific number of points that can be used in each loadout. And once that has been filled up, then you can't put any more points into it. But that doesn't mean you can't spend any more your accommodations or anything like that, because there's all sorts of things to spend it on. And you can spend it on other loadouts and things along that line. So, yeah, there is a finite, ultimately, there is, but it'll take a while to get to that end, if you will.
All right, next up, this one in from Jigsaw Saint. It says, for the people that played, it says, how customizable are the ships? So ship customization. What are you actually doing with your ship?
Okay, there are two different kinds of customization. There's loadout customization, and then there is visual customization. The easiest one to describe is visual customization, which is basically you've got pattern. You can change the patterns, and you can change the colors of those patterns that are on your ship, and it's generally they're pretty cool. But I mean, you don't totally. It's honestly, I didn't really find one that was like, wow, this is really, really cool. So I didn't find any visualization of the ships that really stood out to me as something really awesome. So, take it or leave it, if you will. But the other kinds of customizations, which actually do affect the look of your ship, there are 10 different components that you can put on your ship that do affect the way it looks. Like laser cannons, different kinds of laser cannons, like ion cannons look different than the other cannons, or the dual cannons.
But that is
the quad
completely
cannons, those kinds of
cosmetic.
things. And that is cosmetic. And no, it's not completely cosmetic. No, I'm sorry. No, that's not. They actually perform a function as well. So, dependent on what kind of cannons you get, it'll be in a different location. Like I don't remember the exact locations, but for instance, if your ship has like wings on it, the ion cannons might be closer to the cockpit, whereas the quad cannons will be out on the side.
How does that affect gameplay? Like, how does that tie in?
Well, that it changes your, I guess you would call it, your role within the battle itself. If you want to, well, again, you can use the laser cannons are the easiest to use as an example. The ion cannons will that chews through shields really quickly. That's the job of the ion cannons. But once you hit the main part of the ship, then it starts. Once you hit the hull, then it's not gonna do as much damage. However, if you have let me get another name of one of these other cannons here. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But like the quad cannons, for instance, I think they will do the hull pretty well, but they don't necessarily go through shields very well. So if you have a shield up, it's going to take a while. If the enemy has a shield up, it's going to take a little bit longer for the quad cannons to go through than it would take the ion cannons to go through. So you can work in tandem with each other. So if you have a friend that has a loadout with the ion cannons, he can go in first and blast away at the guy's shield, and you can come in behind him and blow the guy up.
Do any of these changes affect the way the ships actually handle as far as like controls go?
Yes.
I think there are things that do, such as the thrusters and capacitors, to be able to extend your range and help you go faster.
Do you guys see the build outs? Do you guys see the build outs being quite granular and as far as like lots of options of ways to kind of different combinations of stuff, or is it pretty straightforward and pretty sort of like, hey, what do you want? Like you're saying, like, you know, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to chew through this faster than this? But that's not really like a huge amount of choice there. Like, so how do they work sort of in conjunction with each other?
The individual components. Now, granted, there's different, I guess, points associated with them, so you can't use ones with others. But kind of like JTL, the way that JTL was set up, there was a certain mass that you can use with. Anyway, but there's 10 components, and they don't exactly work with each other, but there's certain combinations I would think would work better with each other. Maybe for a ship that uses heat-seeking missiles, you'd want to have, or locking missiles rather, you'd want to have a ship that could turn really fast and that sort of thing. So you want ones that kind of work in conjunction with each other, but it also has a lot to do with your gameplay as well, how you want to play this game. And that, like I said, there's 10 different components, and each one of those components have like 4 or 5 different possibilities that you can choose from.
Laura, how did you find sort of like the UI on that stuff and making the choices? Is it pretty straightforward, and are new players going to feel like at home, or are there going to be a lot of combinations with a little bit of sort of like mystery, and you're sort of like, you know, am I making the right choice? Am I putting the right things on my ship? That sort of thing.
The UI is fairly straightforward, but a little complex if you don't know what you're looking at. So I think taking some time to really study all of your options. Obviously, you're not going to have everything unlocked to begin with, so that's going to make it a little bit easier to make your choices. But in general, it is pretty straightforward. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of room to screw up there.
Is there any sort of like tool tips, or do they sort of point you in the right direction?
They did add in for the tutorials at the very end. There is a whole new section for Galactic Starfighter. So if anybody's got questions or lost or just needs, hey, what's going on, they can absolutely go that. And it has a really fantastic breakdown.
And how are all these things like unlocked? Are they all unlocked over time as you're progressing through the game? And do you see the possibility of ever having ship unlocks happen on the ground?
They are unlocked. Upgrades are purchased through ship requisition points. So your comms, basically, as you're earning them, are what's going to unlock your new upgrades for your ships.
Does that seem like there's going to take a long time to actually unlock all of these things with the combination points, or how's the leveling curve sort of feel in that regard as acquiring all of these? Is it something you're going to be working on for quite a while, or is it pretty easy?
I think it's kind of like, I would equate it to like playing guitar. You know, to be okay at playing guitar, it doesn't take very long, but to be a master at playing guitar, it takes quite a while. So it's kind of it is going to take a while to get everything, but in order to be adequate at playing one of these matches, you'll probably be pretty adequate jumping right in, because one of the Riker. That's my favorite ship, actually. It was the Riker. The Riker, in its base build, is pretty darn good. It's got locking missiles. It's got fast firing cannons. So it feels really, really good right off the bat, and it's a pretty average kind of ship, and it can do pretty significant damage, and you can play a pretty significant role just right out of the gate. So I don't really see a huge curve, other than the dextral learning curve that you might have as an individual. I don't see any other kind of curve that you might have to overcome in order to be adequate in the in the actual game itself. However, like I said, to be a master at it and to be one of the guys that is scoring really, really high, I think that that's going to take a while, and you're going to have to learn the build outs and how that works with you as a player.
Now, when you're looking at the UI and you're looking at all these unlocks, do they display everything that and clearly show you how many points you need to unlock all these things, and how far do you feel like you possibly got to dig down that hole as far as unlocking stuff?
I got, well, the individual trees, because you have different trees for each component, and the individual trees, I got through half of a few of them. I think about 5 of them as I was playing off and on through the beta. And so, and that was over a course of a few weekends. And it doesn't take that long to get a good start on everything, but once there is a threshold from what I saw, that it just there seemed to be a wall, if you know what I mean, that it's going to, oh, this is where a little bit of grinding starts, you know what I mean, just to like, oh, okay, to get to this next level I'm going to have to kill a few rats.
How many and how many trees how many trees are there? I think
there's
I missed
10, there's
10
one for each
trees
component. Yeah.
All right. And then last up here, before I got a lot more questions, but kind of talking about compositions. So you talked about the stock sort of build, the one you said being pretty good out of the gate, but
yeah.
Did either of you see any sort of kind of OP compositions that are like looking like they're just really good and?
Well, there's definitely one that they are not putting in the game.
Yeah, bombers are not coming in the game until February.
Yeah.
Why is that? They're just completely OP?
Because apparently they can drop drones and mines that are AI controlled, and it said that it takes no skill to hit other players, and so people were having that come out, and it was not uncommon to have the bombs just literally 3 people would explode. So very, very overpowered. They do only AoE damage. They can heal hull damage to other players. They were able to replenish ammo, and they could drop respawn beacons that would allow members of your team to respawn anywhere. So people said that's a little OP.
Interesting. A little bit OP. Okay, so we won't see those. All right, I got a bunch more questions, but first I want to tell you guys about a great deal we got going on with Audible. Love, love, love the Audible audiobooks on your iOS device or your Android device. Want to hook you guys up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. All you got to do is go to audible.com/gamebreaker. That's the URL you're going to want to hit. Get your free 30-day trial. Get your free audiobook. And they have a bunch of Star Wars books, including some from the Old Republic. Deceived, one of the best. Let's take a little listen right here.
For warmer air, and paid him no heed as he flew over and past them, their dull black eyes blinking against the snow and ice. He pulled back on the ion engines and slowed still further. A yawn forced itself past his teeth. He sat up straight and tried to blink away the fatigue, but it was as stubborn as an angry bantha. He'd given the ship to the autopilot and dozed during the hyperspace run from Volta, but that was all the rack he'd had in the last 2 standard days. It was catching up to him. He scratched at the stubble of his beard, rubbed the back of his neck, and plugged the drop coordinates into the Navicomp. The comp linked with one of Ord Mantell's unsecured geosync sats and fed back the location and course to Fatman. Sirid's HUD displayed it on the cockpit canopy. He eyed the location and put his finger on the destination.
I know you have. I know you have. It's a good one. I love all like the ship noise in the background and all that good stuff too. Check it out. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Deceived. Want to hook you guys up with it for free. All you got to do, like I said, go over to audible.com/gamebreaker, make an account, download the app to your iOS or your Android device, download your book. And if you like the Audible service, which I know you will, you sign up, you get a monthly service, and you get tokens every month. So you sign up for a different, 1 book a month, 2 books a month, 3 books a month, that sort of thing. And each month they give you tokens, you trade them in, you get another book. So there's a bunch of Star Wars stuff on here. Go check it out today. Love having the Audible on as sponsors to make this show and all the others at Gamebreaker possible. Audible.com/Gamebreaker. All right, I'm going to jump back into more questions. I got more questions. Fast cart, semi-easy one. How long are matches? Good question.
10 to 14 minutes.
10 to
Yeah.
14?
15 minutes.
It's
So
basically
fairly short.
it basically it's whoever can accumulate the most points the fastest. You capture nodes, you get points. It's it's kind of the way that
Do they
Alderaan-
do they feel kind of strategic? Like, do they feel like there's really, do you really need some sort of coordination on TeamSpeak and comms to talk and kind of like get good at this, or is
Well,
it pretty much just
If
like,
you don't capture the turret first, then I do think you need a little bit of coordination, because the capture point will spawn turrets, which the holding team can use for defense. So you kind of want to have a coordinated effort to get back in there and take those out so that you can, steal the cap.
are you, when you guys were playing it, were you all in comms with like a group and really trying to like come up with strategies and strike forces,
Let me
or is
see.
it, or
If
is
you
it
watch
much-
any
Larry
of
and
our
Kyle
guild-
and everybody else was. I was like, guys, I'm crashing into an asteroid again.
But does it have that feel, or does it have a very like, arcadey sort of like just shoot everything and everybody's just going crazy kind of a feel?
I think
Like from a PvP
Yeah,
perspective, I guess I'm trying to
yeah,
I guess I'm trying to
yeah,
like I'm trying to position it like, how PvP groups would kind of like, look at composition builds and ship builds and stuff like that. And then is there real strategy there?
I think there is, if you are good at PvP. If that is your thing, if PvP is your thing, then you're absolutely going to want to, theory craft what is the best build out for this situation. You've got 5 loadouts that you can do. You're going to have all 5 loadouts ready to go for specific scenarios that come up. You're going to, you're going to have people that have specific kinds of cannons. You guys are going to go first, and then you're going to follow these guys. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some sort. Okay.
Are there any kind of like,
need to have that?
but
those
it
who are gonna
can?
win, they're going to do that.
So do the ships have like sort of almost class-esque abilities? Almost like, is there a healer? Like, is there a tank? Is there a DPS? Like, is it kind of set up in that manner where you're going to want to like really strategize the composition?
It's sort of more of in an FPS kind of fashion than a.
But that very much has it, right? I mean, you've got your
Yeah.
recon, you've got your medic, you've got your assault, and you've
Exactly.
got like your support. I mean, those are. So do you have those types of classes? I mean, do you literally have a medic? Do you have somebody who can fly a ship and actually heal other ships?
I don't know that we have a medic. There is, like, the bomber can.
Well, the bombers
But
can heal all
but-
damage, but
But the bomber's
yeah,
totally OP and not coming anytime soon.
Right. So that's
not
not going in. But all the other ones, you definitely have a recon ship, which are your scout ships. They'll go out and they can
And you've
fly
got your
really, really
sniper
fast.
ships, so you're kind of
Yeah.
longer range, heavier
Yeah,
damage.
Exactly. That you have
Yeah,
all
there's
the same
the
things that you would
shields.
find in FPS. You'll pretty much, except for, like you said, the healer. That's about the only thing that would be missing.
All right, Grumpy House has a kind of an interesting question for those of you who played the old Star Wars Galaxies. Grumpy wants to know, says, how close will it resemble, you keep referencing Jump to Lightspeed. He says, how close will it resemble, he or she, I'm not sure, how close will it resemble the Jump to Lightspeed expansion from Star Wars Galaxies in terms of sandbox play?
Okay. The thing that made Star Wars Galaxies so sandboxy was actually the crafting system behind it. A lot of the PvE side of Jump to Lightspeed just was kind of it kind of sucked, to be honest. It really was just a leveling process, something that you had to do in order to get to the end game. So as far as the crafting side of it goes, yeah, that's definitely going to be limited. But that being said, there is a lot of intricacies as far as your ship loadouts and those kinds of things.
Is
And
there
I
is there
think
is
that-
is there any crafting associated with?
No.
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing, zero as of right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, That's going to be the thing that you're going to miss the most, I think. If you're looking for a sandbox kind of thing, that's what you're going to miss from Jump to Lightspeed is the crafting side of it. That doesn't exist. However, if your part of the game was finding the best loadout for your specific kind of ship and making all those numbers add up to the perfect number that you wanted, then there is that. Definitely. That part of the theory crafting side of it definitely exists.
All right,
And
Jigsaw saying wants to.
intricate. Go ahead.
Jigsaw saying wants to know, is December 3rd the hard launch date for subs? 100% confirmed? Question mark.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
December 3rd.
All right.
I will be there doing it on my server.
Doc Mortis wants to ask if you can move about your ships inside of them. So if you can see the new companions in ship and look around the various ships.
No.
No, you can, there is a way to spin the camera to where you can look around the ship, but you can't see inside
Can't see inside.
Yeah. Unless there happens to be a bug that pops your anyway.
And I think new pets are like voice only. They don't have any models and they don't interact in the ground game.
And what are they actually for? What are the new pets for in the space? What do they actually do?
Oh, that's there. I could go into there. There is each one of your companions, including the new ones, have a different role to play in your ship. You do. There's 5 slots for companions, so you choose 4 companions for each of the secondary jobs, I guess, and then you choose one of those 4 to be your co-pilot. And your co-pilot actually talks to you, and he'll tell you, or she will tell you, if somebody is got their missile locked on you and is firing, or things all throughout the whole time you're fighting.
Unless you're Jimmy and you pick Ken Ball, and all he does is tell you, "Yeah, good job, we blew them up."
Is that pretty much?
You can't understand.
Is that pretty much the only function, though? Or are there any kind of like buffs or bonuses?
Yeah, no.
Or
Each pet gives a different type of bonus, and they are mirrored between Empire and Republic, and it's all kinds of different passive abilities that they can offer.
All right, so a whole nother level of complexity to add to your ship build out. This is going to come into play as well. Okay.
Oh, yeah. and on top of that, you can also spend requisition comms to unlock any of the pets from your faction. So if you're playing Empire and you said, "Hey, I am playing an agent and I really want Blizz to come and be on my ship," you can unlock Blizz for your agent ship.
Oh, fun. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat. Yep. All right, this next one from Fast Card is kind of a tough one. I'm gonna ask it, but we have to remember that you guys both were in a beta environment. I don't know if anybody knows how many people were in that beta, anything like that. So, and it kind of ties in. Fast Card says, does it seem like the queue took a long time to pop to actually get into these things? And that's kind of, I don't even know if this is a fair question to ask and answer.
It was pretty instant.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not really. I don't think it's a fair question. There's a couple of factors there. I mean, I can tell you what our experience was. Obviously, just like Laura said. I mean, it popped almost immediately. Like we'd get out of one match and boom, end up right in the next one. But that's because the beta was very controlled, and it was only during certain times, and so so just I mean, bear that in mind when we say it popped instantly. So there's all sorts of other factors that are going to be involved. I mean, it's what server are you on? What time? Where is that server located? How many people on that server are interested in?
And it's going to be like anything else. Like, the day it goes live, these things are going to be popping like nonstop. And then as people get more used to it, they stop playing it. Like it's going to fluctuate and change. So that's why I said it's kind of a tough question to really answer. So with the new hotness, I'm sure they're going to be popping on December 3rd, like constantly.
Absolutely.
This next question, I can't read it, from Crash Crush. Sorry. It's like bright green on white, and it's just freaking my eyes out. Sorry. And you kind of touched on this before. I don't know if you can kind of pull all these from memory. Probably not, but maybe you can expand. You guys can both expand a little bit more. But the question was, what are the roles/weapons of each fighter, and will there be more added to the game in the future? So we've kind of touched on some of them before with the different types of cannons and shields and, so that kind of thing. But anything you could expand on that? And have they said anything about
I can tell you
adding to
exactly
that?
I can tell you that there's 4 different kinds of fighters. One of them we already said is not going to be in at launch. It's going to be the bombers. They're not going to be there. Then there's gunships, and there's strike fighters, and there's scouts. And pretty much they're like the really fast guy that doesn't do much damage, the really slow guy that does a lot of damage, and the guy that's in the middle. That's pretty much it. The rest of the rest.
Did you get to play them all? Did you play them all?
Yeah. Yes. Wait, I did not get to play gunship. I did not.
What did you kind of gravitate towards? What did you feel the largest fun factor?
For me, it was the strike fighter. Which is
fast,
the
agile.
Richter.
Is that fast and agile?
Well, that is the medium one. I liked it because I felt like I was doing I could fill the most roles. Whatever I needed to do, I could go do it in a strike fighter. It's pretty much I was the jack of all trades, if you will, because I could if I needed to, I could set everything, because you can change where your power is. What do you call it? Power acquisition or something along that line, where you can adjust where the majority of your power goes. So if you set it all to engines, you can go pretty darn fast in a strike fighter. And if you set it all to guns, then you can hit really hard. If you set it all to shields, you can absorb quite a bit of damage. So you can adjust those around, and I felt like I could move around the map fairly quickly, and I could move from one node to the next if I was needed at one node over another, and that sort of thing. So it just felt like the jack of all trades kind of thing, and that's kind of why I gravitated towards that one. And and right out of the box, it had locking missiles, which was nobody seemed to know. Like the first day, nobody seemed to know how to use the locking missiles except for me, and I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I'm killing everybody.
Is there a counter to locking missiles, like flares or anything?
Yes, there's shafts and those kinds of things, so you can definitely counter it. In fact, I have been able to counter missiles a couple of times just by like scooting around an asteroid or a mesa or something like that at the right angle, and it doesn't hit you.
Laura, what did you kind of gravitate towards?
I played a scout.
You like the way it played? Till you got sick to your stomach.
Honestly, I didn't get a whole lot of time in it. Just because
I feel your pain though with the motion sickness.
It made me nauseous.
Some FPSs do that to me. So like, there's certain FPSs I can just jump in and play for hours.
I feel like
other
it
ones
went slow, and then I would hit my rocket boost to go, and then all of a sudden I couldn't control my ship.
And asteroid.
Yeah, I'm not
and
a person.
Boom, asteroid.
Oh, guys, look, I'm hitting an asteroid.
Laura has destroyed herself.
I crashed into the turret. Oh, I crashed into the spawn point. Oh, I can't get out of the spawn point.
Jigsaw is saying the next one.
Terrible.
How Jigsaw wants to know, how customizable is the HUD for each ship?
Ooh,
I didn't try to do any of that. So
I didn't either, and I am guessing that it's not really. Because to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot that would be moved around. Most of the stuff you're looking at, obviously you can move chat around just like you can in the regular UI. But most of the stuff you're looking at is on like that big reticle that I said. Well,
you do have an action bar down at the bottom, and you have your you get your map down in the corner.
But those two elements are probably the only two elements, if they could be moved around. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. If they could be moved around, that would be the ones that you can move around, because the ones that are on that reticle, you don't want to move.
Doc Mortis wants to know, says, what's going on with the chat box? It was disabled in the PvE space game, and will we see guild info as normal?
You can...
I was going to say, wasn't it working there at the end?
Yeah, it worked.
I remember that.
Yeah, it works. It works just fine. It works just like the ground game, or in like it would work in PvP, those sorts of things. So yeah, it's however you have it set up.
Next one, is there any other content besides space content? I'm pretty sure that answer is no. That is pretty much what Galactic Starfighter is, correct?
Yep.
As far as Galactic Starfighter is concerned, yeah, but there is other content coming out at the same time, isn't there?
Yeah, in the patch.
Yeah.
But the Galactic Starfighter itself is pretty much the space.
But yeah,
content.
that's it. There you go.
Last up from Fastcard, is there a separate skill tree for GS? We already talked about that. Yes, there are 10, and that is complete. So, I mean, so overall, I mean, what to sum it up really quick? I mean, Larry, I mean, you obviously got a little bit more time into this than Laura crashing into space rocks, but I mean, what was the fun factor? I mean, do you see yourself like kind of putting this into your normal sort of rotation of gameplay? Is it your thing?
I will definitely put this in my rotation of gameplay. It will probably be one of those things, like, for instance, right now I'm PvPing on the ground. However, I might take a month off of PvPing on the ground because it's frustrating me or that sort of thing. So I kind of, personally, that's kind of where I see Galactic Starfighter as well. It'll be, like currently it's going to be in my regular rotation. I might, after a couple months, get really tired of how things are working, and then and stop doing it for a while, but then it'll probably end up back in my rotation again. So yeah, it's going to be there. Definitely.
Is there any kind of like larger, bigger picture of why we're doing this though? Are there leaderboards? Are there unlocked? Like is there something that's going to sustain longer rather than just jumping into a map and killing some stuff and then we're done?
Gosh, I hope they eventually do stuff like that. As of right now, they have not announced any kind of leaderboards or anything like that. I really hope that is on their radar. They just launched leaderboards for ground PvP, and I think, and this is my opinion coming from somebody who doesn't play like this, but I know quite a few people who do, that being the killer, the Bartles killer kind of player, they like to have some sort of comparison, ways to compare each other, and how they're, that they are better or have completed certain things, and it's kind of it's definitely a
that's why you would do this over and over and over, right? Like, I mean, you would jump into this and kind of like keep space fighting constantly, like if you're considered like, hey, I'm a better player. I mean, that's why I play COD.
Well, and you want to deck out your ship.
Yeah, I think that there is
I'm wondering how and when you hit that point that I don't want to say hit a wall, but once you've decked out your ship,
right?
Once your trees are kind of explored pretty, at least, or maxed out, whatever. Then what are you playing for? I mean, most players like to start getting up to the top of the ranks and be like the best, Galactic Starfighter in the galaxy kind of thing. That sort of thing.
I think I agree. As of right now, there's not really that. So I think I do agree that you are going to hit a wall. Eventually, PvPers are going to hit a wall. When will you actually hit that wall, though? Gosh, that's really going to be tough to say.
Too early to say.
Yeah, it really is. I don't think anybody really hit that wall during the beta that's been going on so far, and it's been a month and a half, I want to say.
And I guess maybe just for a little bit of to wrap our heads around that, to wrap this up for the viewers. I know you didn't clock in, and check out your time, but Larry, if you had to throw a number out of how many hours you played Galactic Starfighter, what do you think it clocked in?
Oh, I played. How many hours was the thing? It was from 7 to 10. Was it? No, I want to say it was 7. It was. I played it 4 or 5 nights. I can't remember exactly. And
for 2-3 hours a night.
Yeah. Well, at least 3 hours a night. So, yeah.
So somewhere in the 15 to 20 hour range, you say pretty safe.
Something
to say
like that. Yeah,
I just want to give people an idea about I'm just trying to figure out so people can kind of get an idea how far you built up the tech tree, how much you opened up customization, how many hours of gameplay. So about 20 hours. But you don't think you felt like you scratched the surface as far as doing skill, maxing out skills, all that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I know I did not do that, and I kind of held back a little bit from doing that because I didn't want to get completely burned out on it before it went live. and I wanted when it went live, I wanted to get that same feel that I had when I first got into it in beta, and was like, yeah, wow, this is cool. Let me kill people, that sort of thing. I still wanted to bring that feeling back, so I didn't dive into it super deep. But
Is
I do
beta
know
now
that
done?
some people did.
Is beta done at this point?
We this weekend. Anybody
it's going to be open on the
Exactly.
public test server, so if anybody wants to jump in and take a look, they're going to be able to.
There you go. All right, open this weekend coming up, so definitely check it out. It sounds interesting. Sounds really cool. So it's coming soon. Check it out. Last weekend for those of you guys who did not and gals who did not get in for the beta. You got is it the entire weekend? Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I don't know. Go look it up. Go look on Sword.
Yeah, it should be.
They're announcing
it should be the entire weekend.
They said it was going to be open this weekend, so
yeah, it probably start about
Friday
7.
night.
Yeah.
There you go. So check it out. All right. Let's there's a little bit of other news this week. Let's talk about that really quick. So the latest Cantina tour was yesterday as of recording this. So that was I guess Wednesday. Thanks to Delphi and for the screenshots and Abation for the some of the info here. So there's a new flashpoint coming in February called the Kuat Drive Yards, which I assume means something to lore fans, right, Larry? What is this? Where is this?
The Kuat Drive Yard. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to know what the Kuat Drive Yards mean in this time period. I could tell you what it means like during like the movie time period, because during the movie time period, this Kuat Drive Yards were the biggest shipyards in the known galaxy. This is where the Star Destroyers and the really, really huge ships were made. They were made on Kuat. And
so no major details yet, but this is kind of interesting. Help me break this down. So we know it's going to be rule neutral and level neutral. And it's used as a bridge between the main game and Galactic Starfighter. So this seems like an interesting idea. Break this down. How does this actually work?
That's a good question that we really don't have the answer to. We can speculate that it's and assume that it's going.
Can we speculate? No,
I'm assuming that it's going to work kind of like the way they did with the Zerka ones, where your, I guess, story mode, if you want to call it that, is capable where just any group of people can go in. It doesn't matter if you've got a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, or if you've got 4 DPS, or if you've got.
So no need for a proper group, no levels, no role. Just presumably like it scales or something.
You can be able to get in there and do that. And I'm going to assume that if there's a hard mode, that it's probably going to follow along the same lines of you will need a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS. One of the things that the developers said from the Cantina tour was that it's also going to be dynamic. So every time you go in there, it's going to be different. Which could also be very, very exciting. They said this should have a lot of replayability. I'm looking forward to it.
Interesting. So like we said before, so early access to Galactic Starfighter is going to feature like the fighters, scouts, and gunships, no bombers. That's until early February. We got a couple screenshots here as well. We can see in these screenshots what looks like a ground map, which may explain why we need bombers.
That's the Kuat Drive Yards. Huh?
No, that's the Mesa.
Yeah, that's the
Mesa
Quad Mesa, the Mesas. Well, that's not the Flashpoint. That's the Kuat Mesas Drive Yards.
Yeah, that's the Starfighter map.
That's Kuat. Not McCab, even though it kind of looks like McCab.
Looks like McCab.
Is this the same as well?
It has the drills like McCab.
Yep. That's also Kuat as well.
So every Starfighter model in the game will eventually be available in Galactic Starfighter, correct?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Are these not?
Oh, the ones that you're seeing there? Yes, yes. And they actually, I believe, all of the ones that are there at launch, or should be there at launch.
Are most of these going to be obtained through the Are most going to be obtained through the cartel market?
No, they are gained through the accommodations that you get from playing Galactic Starfighter, from actually playing the game.
Interesting.
Although some skins will probably be available in the cartel market.
Sure. Totally expected. All right,
probably
cool.
Paint jobs too.
Definitely shaping up. All right, I want to talk about this PvP.
One thing also that is going to be in the cartel market is blasters. your laser bolts. They call it different colors. Will be in there.
Different pink.
Pink, yes.
Of course, gotta have pink. Gotta have the pink. All right, I want to talk about Star Wars PvP season. First, I want to tell you guys about Shutterstock. If you guys have not checked out Shutterstock.com, you got to go. If you have a website, a guild website, if you have a YouTube page, you need to make it look gorgeous, beautiful. You can definitely spruce it up, and Shutterstock is how you do it. We use it constantly here at Gamebreaker TV. I was looking around showing some other stuff the other day when I was looking at how we kind of put some logos and plates together. Here, I'll show you guys really quickly. It was kind of interesting. We were doing XIV, which is our Final Fantasy show, obviously. We needed a logo. We came up with this. Let's use an example of how we use Shutterstock at Gamebreaker. And if you look in the upper left-hand corner there, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you'll recognize the Final Fantasy artwork using the upper left-hand corner kind of faintly. But then you've got this sort of light coming behind a planet or something with some sparklies and everything. That was actually something that we created out of a few different elements, and of course from Shutterstock. So right here you could see bunch of stuff in here that I started saving just lights. And I liked this one, obviously, which is one of the main ones that we chose for the first part of the image. Then we overlaid the Final Fantasy stuff into that, and then we did our text treatment. And then also, this one's really faint, but we dialed this one back to kind of add another layer of an effect on top of the whole thing. So kind of laid on top of some of the text there. You can see it on top of the V and kind of stuff like that. And that's how we can make some of this stuff look really cool, because I can't sit around and make these crazy awesome light things. That looks awesome. And I need that now, and I'm not going to hire somebody to go make it. So just another example of how we use Shutterstock here. It's the first place I go whenever we're putting any sort of graphics together. I want to save you guys 25% off on your account. All you got to do is go over and make a new account. And make sure when you're going to check out, you're using the promo code GameBreaker1113, and you will immediately save 25% off your Shutterstock purchase. So go check it out today, Shutterstock.com. All right, last up today, let's talk really quick. The first PvP season has begun. There's a few issues. A post was made on the forums revealing a very, very serious exploit. The post got deleted. I don't know, probably maybe for the naming and shaming, maybe for talking about the exploit itself, not really sure. I just wanted to clarify, this is totally legit though, right? Can we confirm that it's legit? This is definitely happening for sure?
This happened. Happened. In fact, I believe, and I could be mistaken about this as of right now, but when I checked before the show, the guys that were mentioned in that exploit still have the ratings that they have. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to explain to people out there how to.
Right.
We're not going to tell you how to do the exploit, but what's actually happening here? Something where it lets you get 100+ rating for every win.
Basically the idea. Yeah, basically the idea is that they would. It would almost be like death matching, if you will. There'd be two groups of the same people going after each other, and kind of it would be like Fight Club used to be in some of the other old games, where they would let the other team win and that sort of thing. And and it was
they had the other team going in, and the other team was just killing themselves.
Pretty much, yeah. It was pretty bad, and it was, and obviously it could be exploited really, apparently on the server that it was mentioned on, it was exploited quite easily.
So, and obviously I can't even tell you what this has done. I mean, it's completely wrecking the leaderboards. The biggest exploiter has a 4,800 rating with 57 wins and just a ridiculous 26 kills. 26 kills, yes.
26 kills, which is...
Well, apparently they came out and said that they were bringing it to the attention of the devs. That's why they did this.
Oh, yes.
It's
just
like
trying to...
it's like win trading, but it's not exactly the same. But I won't go into how it's not the same.
Has BioWare had any sort of official response to this at all?
as of this moment, they have not officially responded to any kind of exploits like this. However, I am, yeah.
What do you guys think they'll do? What do you guys think
waiting.
that, like, so you're saying that they came out and said, hey, we're doing this because we want to express to BioWare the issue and show them there's a problem here. But I mean, do you think BioWare going to ban these people and kind of take some hard action against them? It's an obvious exploit. This is obviously exploiting the game. This is not by the way the game was intended to be played.
I really, really want them to say, no, those guys are banned right now. I really want to say that. I really want them to say that, but I know because I've seen in the past that it just doesn't happen. And so, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to do it.
Other than that,
I think they're probably going to get stripped of their rank, and reset back down to 0. But I think that's about the most that's going to happen. Although I will say, I think, like, I'm a mediocre PvPer, but if you have to cheat like this to fucking get your rankings, you're pretty pathetic. You're bad, and you should feel bad.
That's right.
I have always tried to figure out why people hack
Seriously.
games. I mean, if you go, I don't want to get into it, but I was just having this conversation because we've been playing a lot of Battlefield 4, and the hackers that go and pay like $30 a month for aimbots is amazing to me. It's like they pay like a monthly fee to have access to hacks. I don't know. We're convinced they're all just sit around and smoke weed and get really high, and they just like that's why they can't play the game well. So they just need to like beat people up. Besides that, how's the season going? How's everything else besides this one issue?
I have found on the funniest thing on my server, because I love the leaderboards. I think the leaderboards are great. I'm glad that they have those, and I like looking through them, find people that I know, and that sort of thing. And one of the things I found really interesting is there are 0 Republic players on my server that have any kind of rating on the leaderboards. They're all Imperial players. So, just saying, Republic players, you need to step up your game just a little bit on the Ebb and Hawk. Yeah.
They're all in instance.
They're all
two.
on
Getting the ERP on.
too.
Getting the ERP on. Getting the ERP on. Someday we're going to name an episode of that. Laura Williams, follow her on Twitter at VoidMinx, VOIDMYNX. And of course, catch her right here on the Republic every Thursday at 6. Always a pleasure. Go Cowboys.
Yay,
Larry
go
Everett.
Cowboys.
Follow him on Twitter at Shadow, SHADDOE. And of course, go over to Massively and read the Hyperspace Beacon over there.
Yep.
And go ERP. And
That's right.
you can follow me on Twitter, Gary Gannon, follow Gatebreaker TV at Gatebreaker TV. And like I said, we do the show live every Thursday at 6. So come on over for the live show. It's a lot of fun. And thank you so much again for watching. We'll be back next week for some more Star Wars The Old Republic action. Have a great week, guys.